So we, and Kristen, feel free to, well, I guess the thing is not in there, the link, but we can go back to it at the end, that slide. Okay, so what does it mean to be a Title I school? So Bryn Mawr Park is one of 40 Title I schools in Fairfax County Public Schools. Being a Title I school means that we receive extra money from the federal government, so the whole United States of America, it's a federal level, that we receive money for supplemental learning and supplemental activities. The word supplemental is really, really important for anything we choose to spend our money on. Because as a principal, I'm given from Fairfax County a reading specialist. I'm given from Fairfax County an assistant principal. I'm given from Fairfax County certain positions, right? Like one school counselor, a half an SBIT, which is a school-based technology specialist. So I'm given those things through Fairfax County because every school gets that based upon how many students they have. Supplemental means that we are using this to go above and beyond, to get extras for our students. And so I have to, whenever we spend our money, however we choose to spend our money, it must be extras on behalf of our students. So all students go on field trips, but not all schools get family field trips where the entire family gets to go. So that's the difference in the way that the money is spent, is that all Title I money must be supplemental or extra in addition to what other schools have. Okay. All right, so federal funding or federal program is funded to provide all children with significant opportunities to receive the fair, equitable, and high quality education to close achievement gaps. So what does that mean? So it means that there are families, there are schools, that are areas that the PTA can raise lots and lots and lots of money. And the kids have all the best clothes, they have all the best athletic equipment, right? They can go to these great field trips. And there are places where the families were working every day, and we don't necessarily have the money for those extra things. We want, the purpose of Title I is to make that as equal as possible and to use the money to make sure that all children are getting access to better opportunities. Now, how the school and district choose to use that may be different based upon what the needs are, but it's really to help close the gaps. When we talk about, oh, sorry, I didn't share it with you, did I?
Oh, yeah. I'm not a host.
Sorry, I meant to do that.
That's okay.
So trying to close education gaps. We know that children, young children, even before school, when they have opportunities to go to museums, they have opportunities to go to plays, they've got opportunities to go out and be in parks. That actually helps their reading, their math, their writing, their science, and their social studies in the future. And so the more that we can give our elementary age children to help build them up, actually helps set them up for success next year. One of the strategies is teachers that we're always really mindful of, and you probably have experienced this maybe even in your own high school experience and learning, and you probably hear from your kids, well, why do I have to learn this? Why is it important, right? And so one of the things that we as teachers do is we try to really build in real life experiences, not just 4 times 3 is 12, but we have 4 friends coming to a birthday party, and each of those friends, we need to give them 3 trinkets. How many trinkets do we need? And we're trying to connect the schoolwork and the learning with what's happening in real life. So the more experiences we can provide our kids, that actually helps build the academics. This is all part of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, as well as Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA. And so this is all federal law to help support students, and again, in order to close that achievement gap. And that's why we have to spend it on extras. The objectives or the goals for Title I in FCPS, so Fairfax County Public Schools, and then when I do my work with them, that I have to follow under FCPS guidelines. So the first is to improve student literacy skills and communication. So what that means is basically reading and writing supports, And then because many of our students are bilingual, they speak English as a second language and have another language at home, right? We want to make sure that we're helping to support that transition, those needs. Part of that work is also helping and working with our families who maybe didn't come through the American education system to know all the bits and pieces, as well as we do have a session in January that our ESOL, English speakers of other languages, teachers teach about the benefits of being bilingual. I gotta say, that is one gift I was not able to give my children. And many children here at Bryn Mawr Park have this opportunity to be bilingual in home language. And so we work about how do we help families support that home language when we know our school day is all in English, right? And so there's a lot of work that we do to really help that literacy and the communication in the multiple languages. To develop students' math and skills and problem solving. Clearly, reading and math are the two top core content areas. So we do a lot of work to support students' math as well. To promote critical and creative thinking skills. So many of you know that we've rolled out a local level, a local full-time advanced academics program here. And we're bringing that work back to all of our teachers. Again, kind of going back to that question of not just what is 4 times 3? Oh, the answer is 12. But you're planning for a party and you're going to have this many people and you've got this like allotment. What can you do with it? What are the different ways that you can use it? It changes it from one right answer to multiple ways of getting there. And that's something that our teachers are working on with their students. There's a time and a place where you still need to know 4 times 3 equals 12, but it's really about how do you apply it in different ways. To foster resiliency and goal setting. So we know that learning can be hard. We know that testing can be stressful. We know that friendships can be difficult, especially post-COVID, where there's been a lot of separation and things changing. And so we work with our students. We have supports to help support them as a child as well, because when they're feeling good about themselves, when they are feeling safe and in a comfortable place, then they can focus on the reading. Then they can focus on the math. If you are hungry, if you are tired, if you are mad at your best friend, Miss Kramer, can you close those doors, please? Miss Kramer, would you mind closing those doors, please? Thank you so much. But helping them be ready for learning is also a big part of the work that we do, and that's that resiliency. And then goal setting, right? I want to get better. So what does that look like? What's my next step to get better? And then we also encourage collaboration and family engagement. Again, you are a perfect example of that. So thank you so much for joining us. Events that we have, such as celebrating cultural stories night. We've had literacy nights, math nights, science, international night. We have lots of different events that welcome our families into the building. With Title I, one of our charges is to kind of help to show that partnership with families. So what are some things, what does it look like here at school when we're doing reading or math? So then at home, you can also help support that as well. Some of it is more conversational, that we come together and we learn from one another. Like next Thursday night is our SEL, the social emotional learning night, put on by our counselors, one of whom just walked through. And so those are activities that as a Title I school, we put forward to build that home school and the home family communication and collaboration. Not every school has those extra events that are available to families as the way that they are available here in Title I schools. All right, so how are schools selected for Title I? So FCPS, the people way above me, get to look at all of the schools in Fairfax County, and they take the national education guidelines into consideration for selection. Schools are identified for Title I students based upon the percentage of students that qualify for free or reduced lunch services. And Bryn Mawr Park has actually at a high enough percentage that we are a CEP school, community something, something. I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but basically it is because of that percentage that we qualify that every single child in our school, no matter their status, gets free breakfast, and every child has access to free lunch. This also rolls over to as a Title I school, when we have after-school programs, we can apply to Fairfax County Public Schools also to have free snacks available to students who stay after school. And because this all comes under a Title I grant, it must have an academic component that goes with it. So if there is a fun activity, like, I'm just gonna pick on soccer because that's one of our community favorites, there has to be some kind of academics that's infused with that I could be able to justify that we can apply to have free snacks also available. But all of that is because of the Title I status. All of that is because of the extra funding that has been provided to us through the Title I grant. Okay. So there are two kind of budgets for Title I, and I don't want to get too into the weeds, but there's the Bryn Mawr Park piece that I kind of own directly for the budget. And everything that I do goes with stakeholder feedback. So talking with teachers, talking with families, looking at data for how things are going in our school. And then there's a central office piece where I kind of go through and I do applications in order to get things funded to support the school. But either way, all of my funding choices, all of my requests must be approved by the Title I office in Fairfax County. They are responsible for making sure that we are in compliance with the grant and that we are following all of those major components, the literacy, the math, the resiliency, all of those pieces, the home family engagement. So here at Bryn Mawr Park for the 24-25 school year, the budget that we have been allocated has primarily been focused on staffing. We actually had a huge decrease allocated to this budget because it allowed for more application opportunities at the central space. So here at Bryn Mawr Park, we are funding it in these 6 ways. So we have an additional counselor this school year. So instead of having 1.5, this school year, we have 2.5 counselors. And that is because of what we talked about with the resiliency, the social communication, just really meeting students' needs where they are. We have seen a significant increase since COVID of those peer relationships, conflict mediation, how for children to be more comfortable, and social emotional health is really a big topic out there in the world, right? And we as educators are seeing that. And so we brought in an extra counselor to come in and help support our students. What does that look like for our counselors? They work with whole classes. They'll come in and present and do lessons. Those lessons include resiliency, how to deal with anxiety before a test, how to peer conflict. When you and your best friend have a fight, what do you do? How do you calm yourself down if you are starting to feel upset or angry in a school setting? So they will do whole class activities as part of our master schedule. They will also facilitate small groups. They have done small groups for students who have struggled to make friends. Maybe they feel alone and they're not really sure who in their classrooms can be friends. For students that are struggling with organizing things, I know I've got one of those children. They will do small groups to help with children for organizing things and planning. They will take small groups for students of military families. We have military families that often, like a family member is deployed, right? Or coming back, or things look, different. They will take students who just overall have anxiety or have had a situation happen that you could tell they're just feeling very upset about, a loss of a pet, a loss of a family member, a loss of a parent. And so they will take individual or small groups based upon student need. Those small groups do come with parent communication. So you would know if your child was invited to be a part of that, and you would have the opportunity to give permission or to say, I'd like to learn a little bit more first before giving my permission. But they'll do small groups, and then they'll also do individual response. So sometimes students come, I know it's a bad morning, right? Something bad happens, you're just not really feeling good inside. For children, it can be very difficult to regulate really big feelings, right? If there was a fight at home and somebody was yelling, or they got yelled at for not doing the right thing, those are big emotions that get in the way of their learning. Our counselors will often come and just meet with that child one-on-one in one of their spaces they have fidgets, they have tools, they help the child work through that particular situation. And then if it's repetitive, we might consider a group. If it's just that kind of one and done, then, you know, when the child is ready to enter class, then they will do that. And sometimes it's as much as a child didn't get the bus arrived late and the child didn't get breakfast. And once we're able to figure out what the child needs, then our counselors make sure they get breakfast, or they make sure if they're missing school supplies, they're getting them school supplies. So they do a lot of different things. So our additional counselor support has been huge, and we've already put her to work. We have an additional early literacy support or specialist. So we are given through Fairfax County one reading specialist. We have one committed just through kindergarten through second grade. So our early learning skills, where children are learning to look at words and figure out how those letters work to make those words. And then, oh yeah, those words make sentences that ultimately end up telling a story. It's a really, really difficult skill for young children. It's not natural. It's a very explicit instructional piece. You may have heard the words science of reading. It is all about, and that basically means all of the brain studies that they've done on how children read. We're now taking that work and putting it into explicit practices in the classroom with repetitive multisensory, meaning they hear it, they say it, they move it, they're using big motor skills, they're using handwriting, they're doing all sorts of things in order to make sure their brain remembers it. So we have one additional literacy person here at Bryn Mawr Park that other schools do not have, just to focus on the early literacy, because that's critical for our children to be able to read and comprehend by the time grade 3 SOLs come up, right? We do have a math interventionist here as well. She co-teaches, meaning she's in classroom supporting teachers for one grade level, which will switch throughout the year. And she primarily takes small groups of students and she works with those students and provides them extra time and practice and skills, usually when the child is below grade level. And so trying to really build them up. And we talked earlier about closing the achievement gap. That's what she's doing. She's trying to boost those students up in small group. We also have commit a good chunk of the Bryn Mawr Park portion to instructional coach, whose main charge is professional development. So our teachers meet in teams to analyze data, to review all of the plans that they need to be putting in place, and to go through professional learning, to learn about, earlier we talked about critical and creative thinking, right? It's not just 4 times 3, but you're planning for a birthday party and this is what you need to think through. So her job is to really help support the teams in taking the work from here up to here for students. She also co-teaches or works alongside in classrooms with teachers. And her work is double because the students have a second adult in the room to be able to get that support, but it's also about helping the teacher refine his or her practices to meet the needs of the students in the classroom. Even if a teacher has been a teacher for 25 years and they are super experienced, the children change. And that's where teaching takes a lot of thinking through, is because you need to know your students in order to match what they need to know to where they're starting. And so she really helps support that. Because we're a Title I school, we also have a full-time, yay, school-based technology specialist. That's Miss Feathers sitting over there. We are so grateful to have her full-time. But her work and role is not only to help students have like the computer and computer access that they need, but she is also in classrooms co-teaching with teachers, helping them use the technology. So it's not just sit down and practice, but it's, hey, we're doing a project to show what we know. And she's been one of the major key players in the career fair that we've been doing as well, to really help support students seeing what career opportunities they have in the future. So her work is all over the building, and it's all about how do we use technology in a meaningful way. And this year she has the beautiful addition to her job of exploring AI and how that goes in education. Fortunately, at the elementary level, it's just letting kids know that AI exists and it can be helpful. It gets a little more interesting as you get to middle school and high school about, you know, what AI involvement looks like. That's a whole separate session. But then the last part, and we already talked to this, outside of school programming, with those family events, family field trip. is something that we have funded as well. And if you haven't done a family field trip, it's a Saturday field trip where it's children with their parent or parents or family member. And we go to different places. We've gone to multiple Smithsonian Institutes for family field trips, and those are on a Saturday. So it's a chance for us as a community to come together and be in a place together, but it's very low stress, right? It's just kind of come. And if you've ever had to drive in DC, getting a school bus to take you down there and not have to worry about parking, that's definitely low stress, right? All right, so we talked a little bit about Title I schools do have requirements. One of our requirements is the Title I Parent and Family Engagement Policy and Compact. We just call it the Compact for short. You should have received this at the open house in the collection of letters and forms that you've received. It's a 4-page document that in March and April, community members are invited to review with me and refine and tweak and fix that for the next school year. This first page has dates as well as the homeschool events that we are committing to. Now, please know we're going under renovation in December. I have everything pre-authorized through our construction team. So hopefully I won't have to change anything, but there is always the possibility that something may happen and we have to adjust dates. But we try to get that year-long calendar out and ready so that families were able to plan. In our compact, it talks a lot about what Title I schools are. There are 3 major components on the last page. It has commitments from the different stakeholders. The first one is staff. So staff are providing a high quality curriculum and instruction that enables students to meet challenging academic standards. Staff are committing to providing a supportive and effective learning environment for students, that we will provide assistance to caregivers in understanding the school's programs. That kind of goes with like that benefits of being bilingual and different programs we have. And then build caregivers' involvement in the school through the following actions. And those are the activities like today, or the family field trip, or celebrating cultural stories, or SEL night. So those are our commitments, and it goes into more detail. There is also a second area where it talks about family commitments. We do ask that you read our newsletters, that you do check your child's Thursday folder, that you do engage with your child in conversations about school, and that you communicate with us if you are seeing or having concerns about your child, that you reach out, because it's both ways. And then we have a portion that's student commitments. Students will share their notes from their teachers to the parents. So to make sure that you're getting the information, students will communicate about their work, but all of that is listed in our compact that was shared at the beginning of the year. Okay. And so I shared this with a couple of our early birds from today, but we do have the Title I feedback survey that was put out in March of last school year, and we're going to re-put it out because it's a new group of families, right, for the new school year. And so one of the several questions is thinking about family field trips. What would your preferred family field trip destination be? So far, we've done all Smithsonian Institutes, and they've been really well loved. But this is not about me and kind of what I can plan. This is about what our families like. So these were some ideas that came up. I think this one was the other. But these were some ideas that in conversations came up with families. And so we were requesting some feedback, and you can see based upon the feedback, it's kind of really split. So we may try to choose within those areas, but we're going to be resending this out next week via talking points. So if you have a passion for where you'd like to see Bryn Mawr Park students and families have the opportunity to go, please go ahead and put it in there. Some of the other questions, family engagements, events. So these are our evening events, as well as family coffee. So this is kind of how we're guiding what topics are being presented. Creative thinking strategies, computers, technology, the hands-on science, social emotional wellness. This is the one that we're doing next Thursday. And clearly it came out as one of the top ones. So that's why we prioritized that one first. But this is how we're picking, because there are only so many events we can do. So we're trying to pick the ones that our families are going to feel most or be most interested in. So that's why the survey is important. And then this is what we got for family information events. So these were the coffees. And so you can see our top winner of this one is Children and Technology. This includes social media. And so Miss Feathers is already working on that one, and that is slated for September 27th. So we'll be sending out those advertisements soon, and it's gonna be just like today, where we'll have an in-person opportunity, but we'll also have a virtual part. So if you can't come into the building and just want to listen from home or watch a recording later, we will have it available to you. But that's how we pick the topics. And until we get a family liaison officially, I'll be coordinating them, but we'll be passing that off to our family liaison as well. Oh, look, there are the other parts of the home compact. I already went over them, so I'm not going to repeat. Is that okay? Okay, but there's the family part and there's the student part. Okay, and that is it, at least for my section. So I just wanted a chance to open up to any questions if there are any questions, as well as let you know that we did record the session today. Thank you, Ms. Feathers, for doing that. And so every family coffee we do, we will record and we will post it on our Bryn Mawr Park website. So if something